Today, I wanted to go through a reading with you. I wanted to show you how I do my readings and some little tips on how I make readings not just good, but how I make them magnificent. So, welcome back to my channel, or hello if you are new. My name is Victoria Bond. I'm a psychic medium, a spiritual empowerment coach, and I am the non-fluff coach that tells it to you how it is, but also I don't hold anything back. And there's a lot of people out there that are holding their mediumship secrets to themselves, and I'm not one of them. I'm an open book, baby. So I'm so happy that you're here today. Now, I've got a Paleo Santo, a really incredible incense here that I picked up from a market, and I'm absolutely loving it. So today I'm going to share with you the three things that I do, beginning, middle, and end when it comes to my readings. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an example of how far we can go with readings when we allow ourselves to surrender. Okay, so are you ready? I hope you enjoy this video and let's get into it. And the reason why I have the smoke today is not just for the effect, even though it's pretty freaking cool. It's because I use smoke as one of my tools. Okay, whether it is white sage, Paleo Santo, incense, whatever, I like to use smoke as one of my little tools, as well as sound, as well as essential oils, crystals, cards. I have all these tools. And if you're into spirituality or readings, you probably have got a whole lot of tools too. Now, here's the thing I'm going to say. You don't really need tools. Tools are a bonus, they are an extra, and they are phenomenal. I don't have a lot of tools. I only have, like, I don't know, 20 decks of cards. I don't need a whole lot of things sitting there. I want to utilize everything that I have. I do go through a lot of incense though, because I really, really enjoy it. So why am I sharing this with you? Because step one of doing a reading, I don't care if you are an advanced medium, if you are like feel like you are okay but you want to turn up your skills, or if you're a beginner, I don't care where you're at, you'll get something out of this video. So make sure you stay to the end, because I want to help you not just have good readings, I want to help you have magnificent readings. Readings that go beyond what other readers do, because you can go further than what they can do. So I'm going to share with you exactly what I do. So like I said, number one, let's get into it. You've got to set the scene, okay? You've got to get into spirit mode. I call it spirit mode. So what I like to do is I like to create a space. Maybe you create yourself an altar. Maybe you've got your tools, your cards, your bowls. Maybe you've got some beautiful smoke going on. I'm really loving this. We're hotboxing this office here today, my studio. And it can be different for every single reading. Sometimes I'm just like, all I need is a candle and some cards today. Or all I need is a plant and maybe a glass of water. It's different for every single reading, I find. And I'm like, I'm going to do a reading for someone. So what do I require today? I always have a pen and paper, because sometimes scribbling and channeling things out, you can do a doodle and all of a sudden there's this picture of an angel in your picture, or you write down a word, or if you're reading for somebody, what will pop out is they will say something and that just highlights to you. So you need to write that down, because you need to come back to that. Essentially, you are the willow tree with so much information from so many different spirit teams, from so much energy around you, that it would be really overwhelming. Just like my brain right now, there's so much I want to say to you, so I need to slow it down because spirit's coming through for this channel. It would be overwhelming if you just tried to let that all land in one go, and this will create a freeze. So to have a magnificent reading, to go beyond what all those other readers are doing, beyond just talking to spirit or giving them a card and reading it from the book, you need to be better in the way that you start your readings. This is a personal choice in how you do it. My way isn't necessarily the right way for you. It is the way that I do it, and it changes all the time. But you have to have a start. Super important. And you have to give yourself at least a few minutes, anywhere from 2 minutes to an hour to prepare yourself, because you want to be calm in your body. We've got these energy centers that we call chakras or centers if you are referring to human design, and they literally do not look the same for everybody. We are empaths, and we have got defined and undefined centers in our body, and we read people differently, and each and every soul that comes together has got a different connection. So this is why, of course, setting up to do a reading for someone is going to be different. It might be different for every single person because they are unique. Some people you can chat with and you get along with so well. Other people it's like, okay, they're just here to receive. So of course we have to be able to read people where they are at. Some people are more advanced in this spiritual understanding, and some people are like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get a reading, so we have to be a little bit more gentle with them. So really tuning into the reading before you do the reading. You don't need to do a full reading before you do the reading, but tuning in. And I really find that, like I say, having the smoke here and having my sound bowls and putting some beautiful like East Forest music in the background and getting out my pen and paper and doing some doodling and just allowing that spirit space creates the energy where you feel safe within your body, because you're the medium. And we can get kind of excited and a little bit nervous before a reading, and that's good, but you're the medium. You're the glue. You're the bridge between the worlds, between the dimensions that you're going to be tuning into. You matter. And I have heard so many mediums say to me, oh yeah, it's just spirit, I'm just the medium. I'm just the one giving the information. And I'm like, I call a big BS on that, because if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't happen. We need the glue. If there's no glue, things fall apart. There's no connection without that bridge. We can't get from one space to the other without it, right? So you are number one, and this is what you need to understand. You are the strongest entity in your reality. Everyone is a medium, and the person that you read for is a soul connection. And maybe they found you randomly on YouTube, or maybe they found you in the yellow pages. Do they even exist in these days? Or a referral from a friend. And quite often we are like, well, maybe you're just starting in. You're like, I just want to go read for a couple of friends. Like, I haven't had the courage to go read yet. Maybe you're really beginning like I was when I was 33 years old, when I asked my hairdressing client, do you mind if I do a reading on you? Because I barely know you and I really want to get some evidence and confidence. And my mind exploded. It exploded. So we set the intention by creating the space around us. And we say a prayer. You can do a prayer, you can do the Our Father, you can do the Hail Mary or the Serenity Prayer, or you can just set your intention, or you can literally do a prayer. Now, I always like to say we are opening the space and this connection for the highest good of the person that I'm reading for, or the session that I'm doing, or the YouTube video that I'm doing, and we are calling in the angels and the ancestors and the spirit teams of the true white light, of the highest frequencies and vibrations. Anything that is not aligned with this must leave immediately. So what I've done is I've done an entity clearing. I have literally cleared all the space, and I've done everything in my power to raise the vibration around me with the sound bowl and the smoke and whatever tools that I needed to use that day. Plus, I got myself into alignment. Now, whatever's going on in your life, maybe you've had an argument with somebody, maybe you had a hard morning, maybe, I don't know what's happened in your life on the day that you're doing readings or you're practicing or whatever you're doing, but you can just leave that. Leave your stuff out of it, right? This is about the person that you're reading for. And this is what happens when we're coaching as well. It's really not about us. It's about the person that we're with. But we are still very important, okay? And this is where people get confused. They're like, I'm just the medium. It's not a big deal. I'm not a big deal. You are a big deal. because without you, this would not be happening. This wouldn't be curating. This collaboration would not be happening, right? So we have to acknowledge ourselves as the being we be, and know that we've got the spirit teams and the guides and the ancestors and the elementals and the extraterrestrials and the light beings and the energies and the collective all coming through us. The guides of the person that we're reading for and our guides is streaming through, and often there is doctors that come through for psychic surgery, and we're like, I know nothing about this, but you just come up with stuff. Like today, for example, I am on my mastermind call, right? So I've got a spiritual business mastermind, and I was doing some readings for the ladies in there, and I said to one of them, I said, whoa, I'm just feeling all of this, like from your throat down to your heart, like pressure. I'm feeling the pressure. I was feeling the pressure, but I knew it wasn't mine, it was hers, because I was focused on her. It wasn't about me, but without me, of course, then we wouldn't be able to come to this like revelation, okay? And then all of a sudden I went, oh, actually, I'm feeling pressure in my heart. Whoa, you know, have you been having a bit of a broken heart? What's going on with your heart? And my client said, I've actually been having like some issues with my heart, like palpitations and pain in my heart. And I said, okay, I think you need to look into where your heart's been feeling a little bit broken recently, where your heart's been sore. And she was really worried about her grandson, her 12-year-old grandson. She's really worried about him. She's like, oh my goodness, I don't know if he's getting everything that he needs right now. You know, I want to be able to support him as much as I can. And she was talking about this, and her heart was aching for her grandson. And along with me feeling this, just going, oh, I'm feeling this, I was feeling it. I was empathing. I pulled a card that said children. Of course. So when we get to marry these parts together, it is just phenomenal what comes through. And I would have no idea what that heart meant. I wouldn't know in my head because she hadn't told me. It was more of like a feeling. So let's kind of go back for a second. The number one thing is to create the scene. But the number one thing in that first step is to know that you are the one holding the space for another. It's about the other person. It's not a coffee date, unless it is, right? And you're pulling a couple of cards. For me, I'm like, I'm here for you. Let's go. We're going to be traveling through different realms, times, spaces, dimensions, and we've got a whole lot of people, a whole team that we've called from different places. So let's respect them, and let me be the medium. Let me be the one that all of this information comes through, whether it's healing, whether it's kind of like coaching and advice, or whether it is actually like mediumship and psychic stuff, and just let it flow. Okay. Often people will not get past this first stage and they freeze because they're afraid of letting go and relaxing. Okay. You might want to write that down. People are afraid of completely relaxing in and allowing the channel to flow. We know what this is like. When we're having a conversation with a new person, a new friend that we've met, at first people have their walls up a little bit. They're trying to like feel out how this works, right? Like how close are we going to be? It's kind of like going on a date. It's the same when we're doing readings. When we're first arriving somewhere, not all parts of us have completely arrived, but when we start loosening up into a conversation, whether it was with a client or a friend, or you've just had a busy day, it's really important to know that, hey, when you relax, you just start flowing. Your medicine starts flowing. I know I experience this with coaches, you know, once they start getting into their channel, I'm the same. Victoria, when you get into your channel, it's just like, I don't even know what I'm saying. It's a transmission, we call it. It's a channel, a transmission, and all of us are that, all of us. So you relax, you connect in, you do your little prayer or your beautiful big prayer, whatever you want to do, anywhere from 2 minutes to like an hour to create that space, okay? And then the second thing is to completely, totally, and utterly allow the channel to come through without trying to control what it is that you are doing. Because most of us don't know what we're doing or what we're saying. We're just channeling it through. But the brain comes in because we want to do a really good job for this person coming through. We really want to do a good job. And often our brain will try to dictate the reading. When this happens, we're going into our brain, and that's why when you're practice on someone that you barely know, where you don't know the ins and outs of their families or their daily dramas, right? You want to read for someone that you barely know, because then the evidence is really clear. It's like a yes or a no. Now, for me, when I'm reading for my sisters, I'm like, oh, okay, hang on. Is this like, an opinion? Like, if I have an opinion about something, I will not read for them on that opinion. Even if it's a great opinion, it's something I want, because then I'm becoming biased. And we don't want to be biased in a reading. So I always make sure when I do a reading, I'm in a really good space where I don't have a bias on that person or what they're going through. Okay? So yeah, just really allowing yourself to be the flow. And that first point of creating the space is just so important. And then you come into relaxation and then you go with it, okay? So one of the things I do is I always say, is there something you'd like to focus on? So I'm going to give you an example of a reading that I did yesterday morning. And, this lady said to me, I want to focus on my business, my spiritual development, and like, where is my career going? Because so she's got a business and she wants to pivot. She wants to pivot into a spirituality. So where's that career going with a spirituality and also my spiritual development? She's already really, really like psychic. She's already tuning into different like channels and light beings and doing healings. She's already doing different modalities and but she wants to go deeper. She wants to see what's going on. So I said, okay, let's see what comes through from Spirit. Let's see what we come through. So I pulled her some cards and I'm looking at the cards. I look at one card at a time. Sometimes I look at all of them and just see if there is a story. But in this case, with this client, I looked at one card and the card's not really talking to me. Cards are their own entity and they talk. So often I will go into a channel if the card's not talking to me, and then the cards are the thing that give me the evidence after the reading. So I look at it and go, oh God, that makes sense now, doesn't it? Right? It's really quite interesting. So the first thing I ask is, I use questions, okay? So you really need to know that asking questions is important. Asking yourself questions, asking the person questions, but really relaxing in and expanding out, allowing yourself to expand, knowing that you're protected, safe, guided, loved, and you're not alone. You are simply here to receive the frequency of what it is that is meant to come through for the person that you're reading. It's not about you. It's not about impressing, but you are a big deal. You're kind of a star in this co-creation, right? So I'm trying to tune in, but I also at the same time, I'm trying to relax. I'm just like, yep, I'm here. This is good. What do I see? And I have no control over what it is that I'm going to see, because I just want to see whatever I'm going to see. That's the thing. You can tell me that you want to talk about your relationship or your business. You can tell me anything and it's great because it'll thread through and Spirit's listening. But what comes through comes through. And all I could see, first off, not all of, because it was pretty big, was a little girl and an old man. And when I'm seeing Spirit, I'm not seeing them with my eyes. I'm seeing them in my head, but I have a feeling where they are. Okay, this sounds bizarre. None of this makes sense. I'm fully aware of that. So I'm hoping it's landing for you. Let me know in the comments if it's landing for you, and let me know if you're enjoying this. So I'm seeing this little girl and this man, and they're over here. They're in the left-hand corner, like through the wall, like I'm looking through the wall. So when we're doing this multi-dimensional work, we are no longer in a room, okay? You can use the room to see things and pull from, like the cards and the tools, but you're in this vortex, you're in this matrix. I did another video about this, about being in your very own self matrix. It's you and the person that you're reading for and bringing her through a whole lot of information. I can see a man and I can see a little girl. And I said, I've just got to ask you before I, dive deeper into the cards or whatever. I've just got spirit here. That's all I can focus on right now. Have you lost a child in your family? Have you lost a child in your family? And she said, no, not that I know of. But my mum, she was carrying twins and she lost one of the twins. Okay, thank you. Great. This is your sister. So people perceive things differently. They'll be like, oh, I'm like, your great-great-grandmother's here. And they'll be like, I don't know her though. Well, it doesn't mean she's not there, right? So this lady I'm reading for, this is her sister. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I was like, yeah, okay. She looks like she's wearing like an 80s kind of like, cute little frock thing with a little bow in her hair and a little half ponytail up and a couple of curls. Now, of course, she passed when she was still in the uterus. But she's going to show me what I need to see to say little girl. You with me? They show you what you need to see so you can express it, even if it doesn't make sense. Of course, she didn't grow to be a little girl, and of course, she is a spirit now, but that made total sense. I was like, oh yeah, that's it, because it's someone close to you. I can feel that it's close. How do I know it's close? Because I can feel it. I just feel it's someone close. And I was like, who is this man? And I was asking her questions and she was like, maybe it's my dad. And I'm sitting with the energy and I said, okay, does he have a round head and hair on the sides? Because I'm like, show me what you look like. And all of a sudden I get this picture of a man who's, I don't know, maybe about 5'8", 5'9", because I can actually kind of get the depth of how big they are with practice and how wide they are and all the things, right? And what their head shape is and what kind of clothes they wear. I can get this as I go deeper into it, as I surrender more and surrender more and surrender more and let my greatest imagination take flight. So I'm like, he's got a round head and he's got hair on the sides and he's got dark hair on the sides, but he's pretty bald. And she said, my dad was blonde. And I said, was your dad pretty stocky? And she's like, and she said, and he was quite tall. He was 6 foot something. And I was like, I'm sorry, this isn't your dad. Not to say your dad's not coming through in an essence, and I can definitely feel an energy here for him, but this isn't your dad. But this is a relative, and I've got a funny feeling it's like a granddad energy. You know the granddad energy that we have? Like, or a sister energy, or, like a friend energy? Those energies that we have with the ones that we love, we can tap into that with spirit. And this was a granddad energy. So I said, look, let's just leave that now because you want to dive into your business. And so I want to pull some cards and, these spirits, when they want to come through and talk, if they want to come through and talk, they will. So here I am, and we can go as far as we want to go. But of course it's like, okay, let's just bring this in a little bit. Let's bring it in because there's no point in sitting with one spirit on one thing, trying to pick it apart and put the pieces of the puzzle together. Like sometimes it's fun putting the pieces of the puzzle together, but I want it quick. And as you can tell with my talking, I'm in a channel right now. My eyes have kind of dropped a little bit. So it's a transmission because spirit is fast. It's really, really fast. So I'm like, let's go then. Okay, you guys just stay there, whatevs. Like they're just chilling out, like floating in the corner. That's how it kind of feels. And start reading for her. And what we realized when I was tuning into the card, and I was like, what do I see in this card? What do I feel in this card? Like really getting into not what does she want to hear, what does she require? And this is a high-level businesswoman who's extremely successful and, in my opinion, already incredibly talented when it comes to her mediumship and channeling abilities, right? So I have to make sure that whatever I say isn't because I'm trying to put it in a certain way. I just say whatever the heck needs to come out. Like I'm reading for anyone, like I'm reading for a beginner, whatever, it doesn't matter. I just have to read from my heart, no matter what. So I pull her this card, And I'm just like, oh, wow, okay. What do I feel? Your spiritual practices that you want to hone into with your channeling more, you need to like bring it in, girlfriend. It's the opposite to what I usually tell people. I usually tell people they need to expand out, because most people stay kind of small. They don't really want to leave their body too much. They usually try to squish themselves into their body. And I said to this lady, you're working with light, you're traveling through dimensions, you're traveling through the multiverse, and not many people can do that because it's actually not a safe place to be in the multiverse. We've got our own universe. The multiverse is full of stuff, and you have to be quite advanced to do that, right? Especially when we're traveling through different dimensions as well. There's places and spaces that you can hold to do that, okay? And the body must be the anchor. That's why we have so much somatic practices of yoga, of meditation, of the embodiment of the dance and the movement and the touch, because in your body, the breath work, being in your body is the most important thing when it comes to channeling. But too many people that are 5D beyond, they're like, oh, I just love being out there. I don't want to come back. That is a problem. And this is what I picked up on. And I said to this beautiful lady, this really successful, incredible channel, who's like incredibly amazing at what she does. She's done work with me as well. Like she's done work for me. And I literally said, when you're traveling out and you're doing all these things, you're leaving a tiny little spark of yourself out there in the cosmos. And she was like, really? I don't feel like I travel. I was like, well, you do. How do you think you're bringing these light codes in? How do you think you're doing this and this and this? She started crying and she said to me, Victoria, I just don't want to come back every time I'm out there. And I said to her, this is where my wisdom came in. This is when my higher self starts speaking through. This is when the guide starts speaking through. You have to be human. How can you expect other people to trust you with their, like doing readings for them, with their healings, with their body, with all the stuff that you're here to do, this very, very talented lady, if you don't want to be here? You got to practice what you preach. You got to be here before you're there. And I recommend that you create a space every day, a ritual. And like literally, I'm reading these cards and they're saying all the same thing that I'm feeling. The card just helps to express it, right? And I said, this is the number one problem with light workers, with mediums, with channels, is they don't want to be here. They want to be on another planet because they are traveling to different places and then they're leaving a tiny spark. This is what we call a soul retrieval. Okay, this is what we had to do on her. This is something I teach in Magnificent Mediumship. I do soul retrievals on all of the pupils that come and work with me. Everyone that ever comes into my world, whether it's my membership, my mastermind, one-to-one, all receive entity clearings, because we are travelers. That's what we do. Constantly we're traveling. Constantly we're leaving our bodies, and thank goodness we've got a cord so we can come back in, right? But what was happening was she was leaving so much, and she wants to do more of this work. She wants to have this pivot in her career, like I mentioned, but she's leaving a spark of herself out there. So when I look at her, I started looking at her, this was on the phone, to be honest, and I wanted to do a phone one to see how I could hone in without looking at the person, but I honed in and I looked at her, through my third eye, and I was like, she needs a soul retrieval, because all I can see is static. I don't see any density. And when someone's really present, you can see them. They are present with you. They are kind of solid. Okay, doesn't mean that they can't travel, but they're solid, they're here. Their consciousness is here, and hers was scattered everywhere. So I said, how would you feel if we did a soul retrieval right now? How would you feel if we went and got those parts that you've left that are out there in the cosmos, and I will walk you through this process so you can do this for yourself and other people? And she said, yes, please, let's do this. So what we did is we called back all of her soul fragments. All of her soul fragments. That smoke just got to me a little bit. Throughout all time, spaces and dimensions where she had been leaving her body and leaving a spark of herself out there, a spark of her essence, which therefore made her not completely whole in the presence and the consciousness of her human reality, which is what she had chosen. So my example of the second part of being an epic, magnificent reader is that we've got to go beyond just reading a card or reading the book of the card. We must allow ourselves to go into a space where we are like, let's just go and see what happens. But we as the reader must hold ourselves, just like I said to this beautiful dear friend of mine who I was doing this reading for. I said to her, how can you expect anyone to come to you? And they do. A lot of people come, but she wants to magnify, she wants to amplify, she wants her work to be literally a ripple effect, an amplification, like massive. How can we do that if we are not wanting to be here? And to be able to say that to someone and to be so direct when they've asked about their career, they've asked about their spirituality, they've asked about their business, and to say, this is what I've got for you today. Once you get these practices into place, once you hold yourself, once you be human, knowing that, of course, this is not the final destination. We're on a freaking holiday. Let's make the most out of it. Let's do random, spontaneous lives, share our voice. Let's like talk to our neighbors, become best friends with our neighbors, or let's like say no more. But let's be human. Let's choose ourselves, because choosing ourselves is the most important thing. And it starts with us and our own spiritual practice. It was such a simple yet profound reading. And of course, she was in tears. She felt whole again. She was like, oh my goodness, how did I not see this? How did I not know all this type of thing, right? And then I said, okay, so let's just come back around, because I'm holding the space. I'm holding the client. I'm doing this for her highest good, not what she wants, but what she requires, because she's trusting me in this. And I said, we've still got spirit here. So let's just dive into the spirit and see what they have to say. And I said, yep, he's still here. He's still got a round head. He's still got his hair here. It's dark here. He's still like a grandparent, you know. And this little girl is definitely a little sister. And of course that makes sense because the relatives are together. And I said, yes, I think they were just here to support you. And she said, oh my God, wait, I know who it is. I was like, who? Right? Because he'd just been sitting there supporting. They didn't really have anything to say. And she said, it is my great, I think it was 3 greats, grandfather. And he was the Prime Minister of New Zealand. And I went, what? Get out of town. And because we're just ending the reading, so I'm kind of come out of this channel. We've done a soul retrieval. It's been really, really powerful. There's been tears and profound moments. And here we are just like kind of ending this off. And, you know, I said, send me a photo. So she sent me a photo afterwards, because the photo will always represent, I always like what the spirit looks like. So I always know yes or no. I can say, yep, that was the person I saw, or no, that wasn't. As soon as she said her dad had blonde hair and was thinning a little bit on top of that, nah, it's not your dad. This person's bald. She sent me a photo, and it was like this big article of their family with her uncles and how they were big in, like, you know, Parliament here in New Zealand. And I just went, yep, without her saying which one it was. I said the man in the middle, and it was her great or her great grandfather. And I was like, that was the man. Now, does it matter that he didn't come through and start speaking through me? Does it matter? Like, no, if you gave me another hour, I could have like focused on them and like brought through messages. This is what happens. Like, the longer we're in it, that we've got to create rapport with, of course, with the spirit that is there, because we're a big deal. And we're like, hi, how's it going? I know you've never met me, but I'm reading for your great granddaughter. Like, do you have anything to say? Like, that doesn't happen in 2 minutes, right? So if I had a bit more time and our reading hadn't of ended then, you know, I could have, and I could do it again because now I know that spirit, we've been acquainted, so we could actually have a conversation. So it's really interesting. Whatever comes through in your readings is what's meant to come through, exactly how it's meant to come through. And when I've tried to impress people in the past, well, not impress, but more like give them something tangible, like in a way that I think the reading should go. Like my friend Jade one day said to me, "Can you tap into my dad?" And I was literally in the middle of my work day and I was like, "I'm too busy." And she said, "Oh, okay." And then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, okay, I can feel him here." I had loose boundaries. This was a good 7 years ago or so. And I was like, I can feel him here. And I was like, "Okay, does he have a white beard? Did he like the color red?" And I was asking these questions because I could see a vision. I could see an image. She's like, "No, no, 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 no." I was like, "Okay." And then I said, "I'm sorry, I can't do this because all I can see is a picture of Santa." And she literally, "Oh my God." And she started crying and she's going, "We miss him so much. And he was always Santa for the boys. And at Christmas, it's the hardest." And I was like, "Oh my goodness. I should have just said, well, does Santa mean anything to you?" You know, did he play Santa? And she would have gone, "Yes." But instead, I was trying to kind of bring forward the reading in a way that was way too hard. Instead, I can just say, I see a guy, he's kind of short, he's, you know, he's solid and he's got brown on the sides and no hair on top, and I feel like he's a grandfather. Does that resonate? And sometimes they go, "Oh, I don't really know." And then literally down the track they go, "Oh my God, yes, of course it does." So we don't want to micromanage the reading. We want to completely surrender into it and go into the channel. Often a reading or a transmission, even this is a transmission, will feel like it was like 5 minutes and it's been like 90. So having a timer is a really good thing as well, because often we don't know what the time is when we're in the channel, okay? So that is the second part, okay? One, started off good because, hello, we want to like, just like when we're going out to town, going out for dinner, or going out to the club, you know, if you remember the days, or for me, the days where I went to the club, it was the pre-game that was the fun. It was like they're having the champers. It was like getting dressed, making myself beautiful. It's the same for doing readings. Like have a pre-game and get ready for the main event. You know, like you're going out to the fanciest restaurant, like you don't need to get all dressed up. Actually, I will wear what I want to wear for that client, which sounds crazy. And often we will be matching in what we're wearing, because, or I'll be wearing a color like bright yellow. I'll be like, "I need to wear bright yellow for this." And I'll run off before 5 minutes before the reading starts, put on a yellow and be like, "Oh, far out." Like, you know, that was random. And then they will need to work on their solar plexus. They'll need to work on their confidence. And then the whole reading is about their confidence and how they can build that, right? So expect the unexpected and don't try to control it too much, because it's a crazy train. It is the crazy train. It is like a roller coaster. And you need to have a start, you need to have a middle, which is the channel, the absolutely let me go, let me into this, and let me be, again, that willow tree. So pen and paper, because you won't be able to get to everything, but hone into the one thing that is glowing the brightest, okay? The thing that is really, really important. And usually that's the thing that they told you about. So in this case, my client was like, my spiritual development and my career to do with spirituality. I'm like, okay, great. Thank you for that. And I'll tell you what you need to do. And all of a sudden it was a soul retrieval, which I'm sure she will go and do for so many people, because she would have learned the process through that. Okay, so the third thing is the closing. Yeah, so we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And with the end, it is just as important. Now, it doesn't have to be as long as starting up and creating the spirit mode and creating altars or whatever it is for you. Maybe it's just wearing a hat and lighting a candle and setting a prayer. Like everyone can be completely different. And but when it comes to closing, I always close the loop. I close the circle, if you will. And I always give thanks and gratitude. Now, in my Magnificent Mediumship certification, I had a medium in there one day and she said, I never thought about saying thank you. So every time Spirit gives me something, I say thank you. Every time we get a golden nugget, some evidence, I go thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I'm talking to a human with no body. Okay, I'm talking to guides and spirits. I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. So when we close, quite often I will come back to my tools. Now, the high vibration, the frequency, and really just like kind of breaking that channel. Okay, so often I will use the tool and I will just be like, okay, so we close the circle with love and light. We thank the ancestors, the angels, the extraterrestrials, the elementals, like whoever's been here with us, the spirit guides. We thank them so much for supporting us, and we ask the angels to carry on any healing that is required. And thank you so much for creating this connection. We cut all cord ties. So I like to cut all the cord ties, and I'll tell you exactly why. And then I blow the candle out, or I pack my cards away. I put my sound bowl back where it belongs, and then we have a nice clean slate. Now, if you don't close, and I know closing can be something that's quite hard to remember because you've been in a channel, you know, we've got to like close, and then sometimes if you've just started doing readings, the ego comes in. Oh my God, was that any good? I hope it resonated. Oh shit, you know. So you can pick up that ego when you leave the door if you really, really, really want to. My advice is you don't think about it and you just carry on with your day. You put on a different hat, go be a mum, go make some dinner. I'm going to do that very shortly. Or go meditate or go ground outside. But cutting those cords is super important. Now, this is important for readers, but it's also important for human beings. Why? When I was a hairdresser, I used to have people come to my house and I would do their hair, and they would also come with a whole lot of information about their lives, personal details about their relationships or their friendships or their childhood or what's going on, their insecurities. And I heard a lot, and I think this is what makes me a really good reader as well, is nothing can really shake me because I've heard so much, but I can hold the compassion, and I also know how to hold the space for all situations. And I've felt a lot, been through a lot myself. But basically what would happen is I would feel everything they'd been through, got really upset because being an empath, I used to cry nearly at every reading because I could feel the feelings of a dad missing his daughter or whatever, and I'll be like, or an apology or like whatever it was, I'll be like, oh my goodness, and I'll be like feeling it, and I just could cry afterwards and during. And with being a hairdresser, that's what I would do as well. I would take home, even though I lived at home where I was doing my hairdressing, I would go upstairs and take the baggage of my client. I would carry their cross, if you will. They left feeling fucking great. That was my job. They looked great, but they felt great because they had just got a whole lot of shit off their chest. And I was so privileged and honored that they could share it with me, and it was a safe place. But then I carried it. And that wasn't my job to carry that, but no one ever taught me that we shouldn't carry other people's stuff. It was just something that I did. And so many light workers and empaths and mediums do this. We carry other people's stuff, and it's not healthy. So cutting the cord ties from the heart, something I teach in depth in Magnificent Mediumship. Cutting the cord ties, and say we cut the ties now. We bring our own energies back in until next time if you want to connect again, you know. It's really, really important to leave that where it is. To leave the energy of what happened where it is, to cut the cord ties, to give it to the angels, to let it to be transmuted. If there's anything that was heaviness and sticky, let the angels come in and clean it up, right? So you can just go, I'm done. Great job. So proud of you, so proud of me, so proud of us. Let's carry on with our lives. This will help the person that you read for. You're sending them with angels to complete anything that needs to be completed. They can come back to you for a reading. Always be open and be like, And if you want another reading, maybe tune in and tap in, a week later and go, how are you feeling after that reading? It was a pretty big deep dive. I said to the lady yesterday, my client, I said to her, and she's a friend of mine, I said to her, I'll tap in a few days, or, message me in a few days, I think I said, and let me know how you're feeling after the soul retrieval, after this reading. She's like, yeah, thank you so much, I will. Right? So when it is a client, it's really good to follow up and say, how are you feeling after that? Because so much will open up for them, not because you just gave them a great reading. Yeah, of course, because of that, but because you saw them and you housed them, because you were human with them, because you were present with them, because you were real and raw and honest. We're not here to impress, we're here to tell the truth, and we have to ask for support from our teams to bring it across, to give them what they need, to articulate it, even if it's just energetic transmissions, even if it's just holding the space and allowing all of the energy that requires to be shifted. So whether if it's a healing, whether it's a coaching session, whether it's a mediumship, we have a start and a middle and an end. Then we tie it up in a sweet little bow, and then we float it off and go, I did enough. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an insight. Now, of course, I have so many stories, millions of stories of readings that I do, and each and every one is profound. But this is the one that is really fresh, where it's got spirit and it's got the energetics in it and the cards. So I really wanted to show the middle, the beginning, and the end. This was all wrapped up within an hour. It was a very powerful experience for her. And even though she's been doing this for a very long time, a very skilled light worker and medium herself, we needed to really reflect to her what was required for her next level. So it wasn't like a Facebook page or find your people here or this is your new download and channel. It was like, come in and find your human. And that's where you shall find all parts of you. And we did that through a soul retrieval, something that I teach in MM. So thank you for being here. Comment if you have enjoyed this. Have you enjoyed this? Did you learn anything? Feel free to like it if you have. I'd love to read your comments and see what the thing that really popped out for you. Maybe you learned something today. Maybe this was a great reminder. I'm so stoked that you were here today. Don't forget to come and say hello to me in Facebook on the Awakened Community with Victoria Bond. I also have IG, and of course my podcast $1 Million Medium, where we have got some really epic guests and some incredible insights and channels transmissions on there as well. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. Share with a friend if you think this is an episode they would love, and I will see you next time. Namaste.